Hello, I'm Virginia. Welcome to the channel, and today I'm going to be talking about headshots. Okay, so welcome. I like to do these sort of long format videos that are pretty informal, and I just kind of tell you what I know about acting in the industry. So I am a Los Angeles based actress. I also do sing and dance. I actually studied theater in undergrad, and then I studied film making, film production in grad school. So I have worked in both and I do know what the opinions are from both sides of the camera. Also, like I said, I do live in Los Angeles, but I have acted in things in other states as well. So today I'm going to give you all that I know about headshots and the best way to get those done, especially for people who don't have very much experience in this. Once more experience is gained, then you will sort of know what is best for you. In the meantime, for people getting started, obviously they need some tips. And also, I would like you to subscribe if you are interested in acting type content, not just acting in LA, but acting anywhere, because I will be giving advice on anywhere. But if you are interested in this type of information, then definitely make sure to subscribe. Once I hit 50 subscribers, I can do these kinds of videos live, and that way I can give feedback immediately if people have questions or anything like that. So yes, in terms of headshots, what I would say, obviously there's the overarching information that everybody has, which is go out, pay a lot of money to a professional, and get your headshots, okay? That is what you will hear from most people, and you will hear quotes anywhere from $500 to $1,000 to $2,000, okay? Yeah, so it's up to you, obviously, based on your budget and what you have available. But I would say that to some extent, headshots should be in ratio to how much you think you can actually make starting out. So most people who are starting out are going to have to work for free a lot. And therefore, I don't believe that you should spend hundreds of dollars on headshots right out of the gate. Or if you do, I would say, spend it on like one set of looks and kind of let that be. So, yes. So I'll tell you what I did, okay? This was shortly before COVID, unfortunately. So I didn't even get like full use of my headshots. And I had my hair dyed and I let that grow out. So basically what I did is there are many professional studios in LA. I knew of one who someone else had used, actually multiple people that I knew had used. And I got professional headshots done. We told the girl, it's run by a man, but we told the girl who did my headshots, who works for the company, that I was hoping to get multiple looks out of this one session, okay? So some comedy looks, some drama looks. Hopefully the person is willing to work with you. You don't need to pay a whole bunch extra just because you put on a jacket and you stopped smiling and you started, looking more serious. Okay. So try and get someone who will work with you on that for sure if you do decide to hire a person. And she did mostly shots like out in the wild. So plain background. The background should be like completely plain, blurred, something. She did a shot under an underpass for my like drama because it gives like kind of dark, moody look. We may have done a few shots in the studio next to the window so that I could get like a lighter background for my comedy shots. And then I put like the leather jacket was for the drama, and and like the pink shirt was for the comedy. I think she also let me borrow a jean jacket so I could do like girl next door. So I have a few different looks coming from that, right? They were great photos, okay? Best photos ever taken of me in my life. I think at the time they ran maybe $600 or $700. Don't quote me on that. It may have been a little bit cheaper. If I had used the man who owned the studio, they would have been more. She was a little bit less expensive because, she's like a little bit less experienced, even though they both were extremely talented. But that's just how it works. So they gave me the photos, all of them, which was good, except for maybe some that were like extremely blurry. They gave me all of the photos, and then I think part of the package was like to pay for extra touch-ups or something like that for a few different shots. So like they pick their top picks, and then obviously those get edited and touched up, cleaned up, etc. So yes, I had those photos. I put those photos on my profile. I sent those photos out. I had, you know, the reel that I had, which I will talk about in a different video, okay? And it was okay. I'm not gonna say that it was bad or good or whatever. And then after about a year of doing this or so, then there was the lovely break that we all had to take because of the pandemic, which was followed up, by the way, by a writer's strike, or really an all industry strike. So that was a problem. But anyway, there is an agent that I happen to know, not in this market, but I happen to know him on like sort of an educational basis. And I asked him if he would be willing to take a look at my headshots, and he said that he would. So I sent him like my stuff and talked to him on the phone. And he did say, like literally from talking to me, he was like, you know, you sound like younger than your photos look. And I had also heard from a workshop that I did, based on the lady seeing me, and she almost seemed angry about it, which was kind of annoying. But she was like, well, you look younger than these photos. And I, like she said, about 5 to 6 years younger. And I was like, well, I don't, you know, they're my photos, I don't know. And so after talking to him and getting his feedback on the photos, and that I sounded maybe not like the photos looked, right? Because to a lot of people, I come off as softer, maybe more nervous, things like that. And my photos showed more like pretty girl, confident, whatever, you know, because I mean, that's sort of what I was going for. And so that's what they showed. And it's not really about what roles I'm going for, what roles I want to play, right? Part of it is just about getting the first few jobs. And even though we all have things in mind that we want to do, we also need work. So anyway, here's what I did after talking to him and listening to her advice. I have a camera myself, okay? I have a DSLR like Nikon. I went and I stood in front of a wall on a well-lit day, and I put on my makeup and I took a photo. I took a lot of photos, but I took a photo that was sort of headshot-like, right? And then I touched it up a little bit because I have the ability to do that, and I started sending it out, okay? It's just me in a green shirt. Yeah. I think I actually have heard feedback on that one that photo also looked a little bit older than me, and I was like, this is literally my license photo, so I don't know what to tell you. This is what I look like. But anyway, I keep getting that note. But it wasn't so much of a gap that they felt like it was a problem. So anyway, after I started using this photo that I took against my wall, I started getting more requests for self-tapes, okay? I'm not saying I got booked a whole bunch more auditions or whatever, but I didn't have any new pieces of reel. I switched my photo to this more generic, less touched up photo, and I sent it out, and I got more requests for $0. So I'm not saying you shouldn't have the headshot session with a professional. It's great sort of as an actor to like get that experience and like know what a photographer wants and see how you can look glammed up and all of that. But in terms of if someone tells you you need to get new headshots, I would definitely just try and take them yourself. Or if you have a friend who's really good at photography, even though a lot of things are like, if just because your friend's good at photography doesn't mean, just have your friend take a photo of you in front of like a wall or whatever, if they can get the background to look basically not like my background right now, which is like super cluttery. And I will put up right now to remind myself, this is me reminding myself to put up a photo of my headshots so you can see the professional and my headshot, okay? So basically, I think one of the reasons that I got more calls is because nobody questioned if it was a super touched up photo, okay? Nobody questioned if it was a fake magazine photo because it was clearly like a regular basic photo, okay? The new one that I took. I think also for commercial purposes, it was very like that is actually Girl Next Door is like the look of me just smiling, my arms are kind of crossed, and I'm just like, you know. Except one thing that they tell you so that you don't look like a deer in the headlights when you take your photos is to have a secret in your head. And you just kind of put that in your head, and then your eyes will telegraph that you're thinking of something that other people maybe, you know, don't realize you're thinking of. And it'll come across. And you can, you know, if you're going for cool girl, then maybe you'd put, you know, something like sneaky, you know, in your head. Or if you're worried, then you might put like a little fear in there or something. Depends on what you're going for. You definitely do need multiple types, I would say. Something a little bit more serious, something a little bit more comedic, commercial. And those are the things that I would go for. Now, in terms of like what actually to do in your headshots, everybody gives the advice that like no stethoscope with a doctor's jacket. You don't need to be in a police uniform. If you're doing police, maybe you just do a black short sleeve like crew neck t-shirt. If you're doing a nurse, then like a v-neck blue t-shirt is good. For like office things, you could put on a suit jacket, you know. But you don't need props like full decked out in firefighter's uniform. One thing that I have heard in terms of commercials is if you are something, okay, like actually, if you're a firefighter, like I used to be a lifeguard, I did, but if you are the thing, then you could take a photo of you like doing the thing or in the thing. But I wouldn't go crazy with this because most people want the idea, they don't want, you know. And also, the, you know, not to be too opinionated on the subject, there was an agent who like I was auditioning with or whatever, and she was like, yeah, you could, like, are you willing to get headshots where you're like, where you've got like the stethoscope and where you're dressed like this or whatever. And I said sure because I wanted her to sign me at the time. But that could have been a test asking me to try and figure out like, oh, how much does she know? Is she new to the industry? Even though I know that you're not supposed to have stuff like that, I said yes, even though technically I wouldn't totally not go for that. But I think also she was sort of a fishy kind of an agent, which is why she was asking for that, because to me at least it came across as like, okay, I know a photographer who I'm gonna try and send you to so that I can get some sort of a kickback. That is a subject for another time. Okay. But anyway, basically that is what you know, you're trying to give the idea, but you're not dressing up in costume. Okay. And pretty much all the advice out there that's good advice will tell you that. And there are one-offs. That is the problem, you know. I'm sure some people have dressed up like firefighters and booked a firefighter role, and they go, that's why I got the firefighter role. You know, nothing is definite or sure in this industry, unfortunately. And that's what makes it so complicated. So yeah, in terms of finding a photographer, I would say look at their work is just like really what it comes down to. You've got to look at their work, see if it looks like what you see from professional actors. Although, like I said, you know, a photograph of someone who's a movie star is going to be different than a photograph of someone who's just looking to book their first under 5 role, you know, or for someone who's looking to do commercials. If you are looking to do commercials, then I would suggest a commercial workshop. I haven't taken any, and I don't do that well with commercials. And I definitely get more callbacks on like theatrical scripted things, and maybe that's just because I've trained more in those things. I don't know if it's just because I can't convince people for commercials or what, but yeah, although I have done some big commercial auditions, which was cool because I got like a Super Bowl commercial, which was like wow. So yeah, anyway, that's what I do with headshots. If they smack of high school yearbook photo, I would say it's a no-go. You may as well take your own. You know, if they have that standard blue or gray backdrop that's all swirly, if they seem like underlit, because, you know, I've gotten photos from a professional photographer before and the whole photo is just like 2 or 3 shades darker than it should be. That's a no-go. If it's overlit and everything's like white or blown out, also a no-go. They want to be able to see your face and see, you know, what you look like Like, you know, they want to be able to see, I mean, this is going to sound bad, but you know, wrinkles or moles or whatever. They sort of want to be able to see that. Now, you don't want it to be too, you know, definitive or whatever. But they want to see your age. So if you are 60 and you look like you're 20 in the photo, that's not a good photo. It may be great for you, but it's not a good photo for getting you cast. Because when you go to do that self-tape, they're still going to see you, okay? And that's what it comes down to. And then they get the self-tape back and they're mad because they're like, that doesn't look like them. And I don't look the same in all of my self-tapes. Some days I am tired and I look not great, or I didn't get my makeup quite right, or the lighting in the house or is like too bright or too dark or whatever. So, you know, there are a lot of things that could be happening. But those are my suggestions for headshots. I definitely would not spend, I'm correcting for inflation because I took mine pre, you know, all of the things that happened in the past few years. But I wouldn't spend over $1,000 for sure. Everything in this industry will ask you for money and you have to save where you can. And they'll constantly be telling you, like, get new, get new, get new. And what is it doing for you? Did it book you anything? Did it get you extra calls? Like, probably not. So, you know, it's just one of those things where I would definitely not spend if I didn't have to. Or I'd spend less, you know, it should be like a reasonable amount. So, I hope all of that advice helped. I know that it's like very tough. In terms of aspect ratio, you're going to be wanting to go for like vertical 8x10. And usually they're from like the chest to the top of the head is like your framing. We don't really do horizontal headshots. I have a couple actually that are horizontal, but I always, like, I have the ability to crop them into 8x10. You do want the photo to be high quality. So if you don't have a DSLR, you want to have like a really good smartphone, you know, a newer Apple or something. Whatever you can, if you can borrow it from a friend, then that's not a bad idea. So yeah, it's that sort of format, because usually resumes, which I will also talk about in a different video, resumes are usually headshot on one side and then resume on the other. And I like to put a little photo, a different photo in the corner of my resume. But you can either staple resume to headshot, or you can just print it out double-sided. But I hope that helped. I will have a new video for you coming soon. Thank you guys so much for watching. Make sure to subscribe to grow the community, and I will see you soon.